Today we are focusing on the topic of pricing software implementation. But let me first start with a brief explanation how we come to that topic. So we as EbelHofer consultants, we are focusing on pricing and sales management topics and help our clients in the conceptual development of pricing strategies and pricing processes and also pricing models. And by doing so, we define conceptual frameworks for the models, and typically and sometimes our clients then tend to have that pricing model implemented into the IT landscape. And this is often the case with pricing software. And that's why we thought it would be very interesting to make a deep dive here and get to know with our study, which we conducted some 1.5 months ago on the topic of pricing software implementation, to get to know what the key functionalities you as companies are looking for pricing software. Second, the reasons why a successful or a high satisfaction with pricing software comes into play. And third, what are the prerequisites when it comes to a successful pricing software implementation? And those are the targets for today. So we will present our key findings of the study. And during that presentation, you will also have the opportunity to write questions into the chat functions. We will take them into our let's say into the follow-up of after the presentation, and we will answer them accordingly. All set. I have a colleague, Benedikt Neufang, is on my side, and he guides you through the topics and the elements of the webinar. And maybe Benedikt, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Thanks, Rainer. Yeah, very happy to do that. Hello, everyone. My name is Benedikt Neufang. I'm a manager with EbelHofer Consultants. I'm in my 5th year with EbelHofer. I have a background in business administration, in the research work that led to my PhD in sales management. I worked also on a few projects that were CRM related, and I was very happy that also with EbelHofer, the whole IT and technology part of sales, but also pricing optimization is one of our focus topics. And Rainer and I have over the last years had a couple of projects also where we worked on the pricing optimization and also had a side topic that was related to pricing software. And we thought now is a good time to share a few insights that we've covered over the last years, both from our recent survey, but also from our project experience. And to share that with you, whether you are with your company already in the phase of implementing, or you have already implemented a pricing software, or be it that you are actually looking to do so. So I'm glad that you are all here, and let's get started. So some weeks ago, we ran a short survey through our network and could get around 70 respondents to participate, mostly from the tech industry, some from healthcare, medtech, some from automotive. We also got some responses from the services, the materials, and the consumer goods industries. And we're very happy that we have some of these indicative insights that we can share with you today. And we started, first of all, by asking the questions of relevance. So, and you see that here on the left-hand side, the overwhelming part of the participants. And yes, this might be a question of selection and of sample bias, yes, but still 9 out of 10 in these companies are actually putting a high focus on the topics of the price model evolution, the evolution of their price management, and also the optimization and digitization of their quote processes. And of those 9 in 10 companies, most of them are currently running a project on this topic or have a project in the pipeline, and only a few of them, these 15%, are currently not actively tackling this. And I think this is a nice confirmation that this is actually a hot topic, and yeah, many firms are getting their heads around what to make of this topic of digitization in the pricing and in the sales area. And this just confirms also our experience from the early stage conversations that we have with our future clients on their main topics. So this is really important and really in the hearts and minds of many companies. We have then gone one step more into the details. So we first of all asked what is their status. Are they already using a pricing or a CPQ software? Are they planning to use this, or is there no such plans? So we then went directly into the topic of pricing software. And there we see here on the left-hand side that almost 3 in 4 companies are actually either have already implemented such a solution or planning to do so. And for us, it was interesting to understand if the functional requirements somewhat match those that we've seen over the last years in our projects. And we could confirm that there is a positive match between those topics, because what you see here on the right-hand side among the, let's say, hot topics or the most frequently sought after functionalities, we see functions related to the automation of the price or quote approval process. We see functionalities related to the management or creation of price lists. A lot of attention is paid to the monitoring and analysis of the actual price enforcement. So the price realization in front of the customers. And then also a big topic, and this is probably not a coincidence given the times that we are currently in, that the topic of price increase management is also here quite prominently featured. Not only since the raw material prices and the energy prices have been on a surge, we also, before that took off, we had in a lot of conversation with clients this topic of price increase management, regular or event-based rounds to optimize customer prices. And this is also a functionality, a topic that is taken to the IT landscape where IT support is sought, because if you're still running your price lists on Excel, you basically have, given a certain complexity of your business, you won't have any chance to conduct price increases quickly or to react maybe also to competitors' actions with regard to price increases. So this is, yeah, from our experience, one of the reasons why this topic of price increase management is so prominently featured. And then we have sort of second in line topics that are also quite frequently noted as relevant topics. That's the implementation of pricing algorithms, but using internal data. We also asked whether algorithms using external market data was also relevant, but this is for fewer customers, as you can see here below, relevant. So it's really about getting the data that you have in your company to work, make it usable for your pricing decisions, and then maybe also include a few other functionalities, for example, like the discount logic that some companies want to manage via the pricing system. Or also, what we find really interesting is the topic of scenario analysis. So when you're planning to rework your pricing, you want to be simulating and understanding what certain price adjustments would have an impact on, what's the top line impact, what's the margin impact, and these kind of scenario analysis and data-driven pricing decisions. That's something that many companies want from their pricing software. And then finally, the question of increasing degree of quote generation automation. So this is also something that we come across quite frequently. Laying out quotes, sending out quotes to customers is oftentimes still a very manual process. Sometimes it's done in another system or in an ERP system, not in the CRM. And also getting product data into the quote is sometimes tedious. So some firms also want, quite a few firms actually want this to be optimized and automated. So you see there's a bunch of critical functionalities that companies want from their pricing software. We then turned to those who had already implemented a pricing software by the time they took the survey. So this is a subset of our respondents, and we wanted very simply just know their overall satisfaction. And we were actually positively surprised by this outcome. We knew that there is a positive overall satisfaction, but we were surprised that it is that positive, that 2 and 3 companies say retrospectively they are happy that they've introduced a pricing software. Still, there is a third who evaluate that not so positively. So this is also something, and we will come to that in a bit more detail in a minute. That depends really what you're looking for and what is important to you or to your company, because there are some differences with regard to certain aspects of the overall pricing software and its implementation that are evaluated a bit differently. So if we've broken this satisfaction evaluation down to overall 9 sub-dimensions, and without going into too much detail here, the main drivers of positive satisfaction are system performance, the opportunity to customize the solution in a meaningful extent, the integration into the existing system landscape is something that is also very positively valued, and also the frequency and the quality of product updates is also something that is more often than not positively noted, also in our talks we had outside the story, this survey. However, there are other points in the field of user acceptance. Sometimes the speed of introduction, the duration of implementation, and also the fulfillment of the budget. This is something where we see a higher proportion of the respondents struggle or with a negative ex post evaluation. And that really ties in quite nicely with the experience that we have made in some of our projects in that area, because it's absolutely key, and we learned that from our projects, that the speed of introduction is important. It's not enough to wait and to die in beauty, but you have to have a certain time frame and you have to get it done overall. But in the same time, you should not sacrifice the user acceptance, for example, or you shouldn't be pushing through at all cost. Otherwise, you're just jeopardizing the budget that was planned for this. So it's really not an easy task. And this is probably also the explanation why still many companies say they did or carried out a systematic change management to get all these different interests aligned within the company and to make sure that they get the buy-in. So some of, and we've learned that from some projects also, some companies started basically with the software out of the box and just basically started loading data into the pricing software, and then later realized that this was just killing the motivation. They were running into so many problems that not necessarily had to do with the pricing software, but were either in the pricing system itself or in the data quality. So, and this really killed the motivation. And this is why we were not surprised, because this is something that is shared in the industry. That is what colleagues talk about and exchange on. So we weren't surprised to see that quite a few companies actually engage in a systematic change management. And we think that this is absolutely crucial because if you take this serious with a pricing software implementation, you have the opportunity to change your pricing model in a way that you previously just technically couldn't do. And now it's technically possible. And there is a great temptation in the wake of a pricing software implementation to change the price model as well. And it's absolutely crucial that you take, for example, sales, inside sales on board this journey. And we've done this quite successfully with one of our clients in the past to actually make this a standalone topic on this on the pricing software agenda, to feature this quite prominently, and to make this kind of a substream called the change management stream with an own structure, with 4 main phases. And the key is really to create an engagement plan. So you sit down, you analyze who's going to be affected by the change. You really take the time, change the perspective, and try to look at the new software from their perspective and try to derive what is going to be changing when you implement. And based on this assessment and change impact analysis, you can then start to design an engagement plan with a few engagement measures to actually get those people on board. And this can be, for example, C-level management involvement. This could be a podcast from the CEO. This could be regular newsletters, and this goes down to the typical training sessions that should really be practical, hands-on, ideally already in the system, based on real opportunities and pricing situations. And then also after the go live, a certain period where you still follow up, where you make sure that you collect the follow-up items, etc. And this should ideally run in parallel to the pricing software implementation, and should be aligned at certain milestones, so that this is really coming as one integrated effort. Additionally, we asked our survey participants whether they had external support on this entire journey towards a pricing software implementation. And here again, we had 2 and 3 companies who actually got on with external support, and actually said that this had a positive impact also on the overall success rate. We had many or a few follow-up calls with our past customers, and really asked them, do you think it was or how big was the impact? And we will come to this in a minute when we collected the do's and don'ts, or our recommendations of where to focus in this topic. It's really, they've said it's really helpful and has helped them to structure their mind before they started selecting the software solution that was right for them, and was a major contributor to their success. This tied in quite nicely with the kind of support that we typically provide our clients with before they even start looking for a pricing software, because it makes absolute sense to think about how should the pricing work in the future once you have implemented the pricing software, and what kind of price model do you want to implement. Many of the software solutions give you a variety of opportunities of different options, what you can build into your pricing logic, into your pricing algorithms. And sometimes for some firms, it's hard to really decide, what is the right price model. And then they start with and either they start with something completely new, or they carry over the pricing logic that they already have. So they have some efficiency gains, of course, by the software, but they might carry on a few, let's say, bad pricing habits from the past, because they just put their old pricing system into the new software, and then realize later that the overall business impact wasn't so high. Yes, they had the efficiencies, but they didn't see the margin uptake that they would hope for. And typically this is something where we proactively support and say, well, you should really look at your pricing first, and decide how do you want to price in the future. And maybe you should simulate that for you and make a database decision on what the new pricing system should look like. And when you have this, then you go into the pricing software and really implement the model that you want to have. And this recommendation is also the first on our list, also based on our customers' feedback. Don't just start with the vendor selection, but optimize pricing logics and also the internal governance processes first. For example, quote approval processes, etc. Really get your head around how you want to steer the business from a pricing perspective, and then with that perspective, go into the market and find you the right software package that optimally supports you in that. Of course, a state-of-the-art pricing that takes into account the many facets that pricing is affected by in every pricing situation requires accurate data and powerful software. We see that many of our clients have a lot of information somewhere, but it gets rarely used to make better pricing decisions. And state-of-the-art pricing, from a conceptual standpoint, tries to use as many, but of course the right data to drive pricing decisions. And Excel is not commercially excellent in this sense, because you can do a lot of it with it, but it provides too little structure, and it's fine to run a few simple simulations, but when you really want to scale it and take your pricing to the front line, especially when you're a larger company, this is just no way you could do it with Excel. Another feedback is that you should team up with external partners when you want to develop your pricing logics. There are always strong feelings about pricing within the organizations, and many of our clients find it absolutely helpful to get an external perspective, an external challenge on the actual pricing logics before they start in this, let's say, IT endeavor. The next two, number 5 and 6, point to the change management aspect of this whole journey. It is absolutely crucial that you engage early enough with the key stakeholders that are affected by the changes in pricing that will almost certainly come with the new software. And if you want to change the everyday behavior, the long-lasted pricing habits that have formed over the years, then don't underestimate the persistence of these habits, but do practice a lot. Ensure that you have enough time to work on real cases with your employees to make this work for them also in everyday life and in the application. And last but not least, this is also not new at all, is point 7, to ensure management backup. For us, it's still puzzling how often we come across this issue in projects. When you start digging deeper and really go into into the changes that the new pricing system and the new pricing software will create, then it's absolutely important to have to be covered from your top management, because you will be stepping on people's toes with this. We have strong opinions on the topic of pricing. It's a sensitive topic. It has it's a big profit lever, and it's close to the hearts and minds of salespeople, and you absolutely need backup and support to carry this through your entire organization. So these were some of our latest insights on this topic. Thank you very much for listening in, and if you do have questions, please let us know. I don't know if you've done through via the chat function, but we are happy to take your questions here. Thank you.
Thank you, Benedikt. There is another question in the chat, whether we have experienced or best practices with introducing advanced pricing analytics in project business, where the price is not only a function of product and customer, but the price is defined by multiple criteria. Yes, I mean, the type of project business is typically something very different, or to be handled in a very different way compared to transactional business, where you have a standard product and you can, let's say, define the pricing logic depending on the situation where the customer is located, in which application you're selling this product, and so on and so forth. So you're defining those micro segments. And for the project pricing, of course, there are different other aspects will come into play, like the technical performance, let's say the comparison to the next best competitor in terms of non-technical aspects. So there are different, let's say, value drivers which are also attached or can be attached to the pricing. And then the question is whether you set the basis as a cost basis and you're doing it with markups, or the way you're striving for similar projects that you already conducted and you're making a match in that. But there is also a lot of variance here. And of course, you would have to discuss a little bit deeper and a little bit more. We would have to understand a little bit more in detail what the current or what the project is like, whether it is a very big project like Siemens building, for example, railway systems in Turkey, or whether it's a project in an automotive industry, having it to the OEMs. That's also a different type of project pricing, so to say. And then we have another question. I hope this answers your question. And there's another one. Does the software distinguish between project and spare part pricing? Can it be focused, e.g., only on spare part pricing? I think, if I'm not completely wrong, of course, every software has its own aspects, but you can, of course, differentiate between different types of businesses. And spare parts business is a different type of business where you have maybe a different pricing logic, where you differentiate within a product group and make there your value calculations. But this is also something where one has to go more in detailed discussion with software providers in detail. But from our experience, there is both possible in the different softwares that we know, at least. So there's another one coming. Thanks for the answer. Thank you. I think we don't have another question now in the chat. So we're to the point. It's 1 o'clock. So I hope everybody had lunch during our lunchtime webinar. Thanks for your participation. Thank you, Benedikt, for sharing your insights. And thank you and have a good day. And we will provide the link to the video and also the document which you just seen here, also with all you who participated here. So thanks and goodbye. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.